Ed Oliver. Today we about the point guard position for the Washington Wizards and some news dropped from Shams Charania. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. One live NBA draft show is not enough for Locked On. Every show is going live on draft night, so join me for 15 minutes after our pick at Locked On Wizards on YouTube for the immediate reaction from your local expert. Subscribe now to Locked On Wizards so you know when I go live. Let's get to it. So I can't wait for the NBA draft. It's on Thursday. I mean, time is flying. It really is. And today we had a news dump. We had a news dump. Now, Tommy Shepard, he had a press conference today. I'm not going to react to some quotes on that today. Today, I just want to get to the news that Quinton Mayo also dropped on the Wizards checking in on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and also Dejounte Murray. Tomas Satoransky is going to be going to Barcelona. He'll be signing with Barcelona. He will not be returning to the Washington Wizards. So that is pretty big news. I really thought they were going to try to bring back Tomas as much as they could. But, we heard the news about Shane Larkin. Who knows if they bring in Shane Larkin? If that could be their plan for the backup point guard. Ish Smith is still on the roster. He's the only point guard on the roster. Could Ish Smith be included in a trade for a point guard? Who knows? But Sato, wish the best to him. I thought he played pretty well towards the last half of the year when he did come in and he got to start at the point guard position. But, he's not a starting point guard. I think his best role is to be a backup guard. And I don't know if Barcelona is offering him more money overseas and giving him more of an opportunity to start. And, that's more appealing to Tomas Satoransky. So there was some article floating around talking about Tomas, talking about John Wall and about his leadership. I don't know how true that was, but I did see something about that. That was very interesting for sure. But I guess we'll start off. Jeremy Sohan also worked out today for the Washington. That's a news dump as well. He did not practice. He had a hamstring strain. But he was seen talking with Tommy Shepard and Wes Unseld Jr. That is the forward out of Baylor, who is a defensive-minded wing. He's about 6'9", pretty athletic, not much of a shooter or a scorer. Shot 29% from the three, shot around 56, 57% from the free throw line. So has a lot to work on offensively, but he is a guy that can be a versatile defender. He can guard 1 through 4, somewhat guard 5s as well. Has solid athleticism, is a lob threat. Can finish around the rim, good mid-range shooter for the most part, but doesn't really have much of an offensive bag or not a three-level scorer, has somewhat of a mid-range game, but he would come in and be one of your defensive anchors. I feel like he possibly could be from day one and really can really move his feet on defense, is a versatile defender as well. But offensively, not going to be able to stretch the floor, space the floor, really create a shot for himself day one. So the Wizards, he is an option at pick 10. We'll see. I would like to have a guy who's more of a shot creator at pick 10 or a guy that can knock down a three and space the floor. I think the Wizards need more guys. They need defensive-minded guys for sure, but they need guys who can do both, not just one-sided in my opinion. So Jeremy Sohan would be an interesting pick there at pick 10. I have a couple other guys ahead of him for pick 10, but we'll see what happens there. So I'm gonna quickly read a quick excerpt from Quinton Mayo's article talking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that the Wizards reportedly have checked in on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have reportedly checked in on Dejounte Murray. So apparently they picked up the phone and called the Thunder and the Spurs. We don't know how far that got, to be honest with you. So this is from Quinton Mayo, quote, "But sticking to the theme of Tommy Shepard's comments from April, Washington has also cast a wide net in hopes of pairing a more established floor general beside Bradley Beal. League sources say they've checked in with Oklahoma City regarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, San Antonio regarding Dejounte Murray, and Indiana regarding Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon, that's the name that's been connected to the Wizards a lot since the offseason. So, quote, "Bill is believed to welcome the acquisition of any of the three, I'm told. Truthfully, I'm not sure Washington has the assets necessary to pry Dejounte Murray or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander away from their respective teams, unless, of course, a good mixture of future first-round picks is in the equation." Paging Sam Presti, since Sam Presti does have a lot of first-round picks. as well. Murray is coming off his first All-Star campaign and is viewed around the league as San Antonio's cornerstone guard. While there may be a tad bit more optimism when it comes to SGA's availability, I'd imagine it still be costing Washington a haul. Also, it's not like Washington has a ton of assets teams around the league are fawning over. So I'll stop there. If you guys want to check out the article, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll just give my thoughts. I think it is a long shot to acquire SGA. I do think it's a long shot to acquire Dejounte Murray. Just to give some background on these guys and some numbers, both guys are fairly young. You look at Dejounte Murray, you got to look at it from a contractual way of thinking as well. You got to look at the money because the Wizards are obviously over the cap. They got to match salaries to bring in a guy making this much money. Dejounte Murray is he's on a really favorable contract. But personally, before I even get to the contract, I don't really think it's a stretch. It's a stretch to get these guys, but you got to try. You have to try. Tommy Shepard has to try. If you're going to build around Bill, you have to try. You have to take big swings. You cannot just be kicking the can down the road. You can't be spinning your wheels, staying in basketball purgatory. You have to make a big move. You have to make a big move. You want to compete. Drafting at 10 every year, drafting at 9 every year, 15 every year. You're getting good players, but you're not getting blue chip players. And it's going to take time for those guys to develop. So if you really want to be on Bradley Beal's timeline, if you're on the same page as a front office and you want to build around Bradley Beal and pay him the $250 million, you have to take a big swing to create somewhat of a big three. If you're able to keep Kristaps somehow and acquire Dejounte or acquire SGA, you have to somehow take a big swing so you can get those three guys together so you can compete in the Eastern Conference is getting better. I say this almost the Eastern Conference is not your Eastern Conference from 2 or 3 years ago where you can get in with a losing record. Teams are getting better. Even the play-in, you had to have up to a near 500. You can't be like the Wizards of when we had Russ, we were 34-38. The East is getting, the Celtics are going to be here for the next 5-10 years. The Giannis is going to be here for the next 5-10 years. Joel Embiid is going to be here for the next 5-10 years. So that's 3 legitimate MVP candidates that will be in the Jason Tatum. I already said the Boston Celtics. Jimmy Butler is probably going to be in the East for the next 3 years, I would say. The Heat, Bam Adebayo. So you got to take a big swing. I do want to dive into SGA and Dejounte, just some numbers I pulled up, of course, and their contracts. Talking about those guys, if you haven't been able to really watch the Oklahoma City Thunder much or the Spurs much, but before we do get into that, this episode is brought to you by the NBA Draft Night. I just want to make sure you guys check in on the NBA Draft Night. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. One live NBA draft show, once again, is not enough for Locked On. Every show is going live on draft night, so join me for 15 minutes after our pick at Locked On Wizards on YouTube for the immediate reaction from your local expert. Subscribe now to Locked On Wizards so you know when I go live. This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is easy to use. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over/under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. It's just you versus the projected numbers. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Prize Picks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Prize Picks offers any prop you can think of, from points scored to rebounds or even steals. Prize Picks doesn't just offer NBA. They have options on college basketball, college football, NFL, MLB, soccer, and MMA, and more. For a limited time, Prize Picks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our users. Users get $50 for free if a player in your first Prize Picks entry scores a single point, but you must use code NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer available to Locked On fans. Sign up today and use code NBA, $50 for free if a player in your first Prize Picks entry scores a single point. All right, so let's get to some Dejounte Murray numbers here. If you guys haven't really followed them, I know they play in the Western Conference, so we don't really get to see these guys play a lot, to be honest. And the Thunder have just been they've been a lottery team for the past couple of years. They're a rebuilding team right now. They got multiple first-round picks next year, this year, probably in 2024, 2025, 2028. And they're actually holding one of our picks, the Westbrook and Wall trade. They have one of our picks currently right now. So they just have a lot of picks. But Dejounte Murray right now, he's 25 years old right now. His contract is super favorable. 4 years, $64 million, $16 million per year. That's a steal. And he just made his first All-Star game. He was an alternate, but still making an All-Star game is definitely nothing to stick your nose up at, for sure. He led the league in steals this past year, was on the 2018 All-Defensive team. So he gets in the passing lanes, averaged 21 points a game, 9 assists a game, and 8 rebounds a game. Basically a triple-double machine. right there. 7 defensive rebounds as a guard, 6'4" as well. Yeah, he's 6'4", 180 pounds. So he fits what Tommy Shepard and Bradley Beal have said. They want dogs. They want taller guards. He fits everything that they're looking at. He shot 32% from the 3-point line, which is not great. But he masks that with the way he's able to put pressure on the rim. It doesn't really matter if you want a guy that can space the floor, and he's starting to improve from the 3-point line. I remember he played us. He hit a couple threes when he beat us. They actually swept us this past year. Yeah, he shoots 4 threes a game and makes at least 1. So, and that's it's not great, but the pressure that he puts on the rim and the playmaking that he does, he makes up for that. He is a 3-level scorer. He finishes through contact. He is a one-man fast break, super quick, speedy, a lot of moves, crossovers, can make guys miss in the phone booth. Does all that. He would definitely raise the talent level for the Wizards. And I think that move would move the needle. You talk about point guards that, you talk about maybe Malcolm Brogdon or, signing like Tyus Jones. I like Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones, Monte Morris, other guys like that may be available via trade or free agency. You're like, do they really move the needle? And I think Dejounte Murray is one of the guys that could be. I don't think he's going to be available, to be honest. I don't see the Spurs trading him. I don't see why they would trade him unless they're in rebuild mode or unless he asks out. From what I've heard, he likes being there. He likes being a leader. Teammates like him. Pop likes him. So I don't see a reason for him to move. But this is per Basketball Index. They got some numbers here that I found. Top 2-year risers in total offensive load percentage, how much a player contributes to their team's offense. Darius Garland is number 1. Dejounte Murray is number 2. And Shai Gilgeous is number 3. Lou Dort is number 4. Anthony Simons is number 5. Now, that could be because they're, other than Garland, Dejounte, Gilgeous, Dort, and Simons are on teams that don't have a lot of scores and a lot of stars on the other team. But it just shows how much these guys mean to their teams and their rosters. Also, this is a top getting to the rim ratings among guards this season. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was number 1 in that category per Basketball Index. Dejounte Murray was number 7 on getting to the rim. So both of these guys are elite at getting to the rim. Isolation scorers, can get to the basket. They're great playmakers as well. Dejounte Murray is a great defender. He did make an all-defensive team in 2018. We do need a defensive stopper at the point of attack. Dejounte Murray is capable of doing that. He does have long arms and long wingspan, and he really gets in the passing lanes. This is per Basketball Index as well. The top 5 players in their wing stopper defensive role, Dejounte Murray was number 1. He had a B+ or higher grade. He was number 1 in that. Also in the leaders in the middle game talent, middle game scoring, Dejounte Murray was number 1 on that list in the 2022 season. So Dejounte Murray has a lot of good numbers defensively. 52% true shooting this past season, 9.7 box creation, getting to the basket, 97th percentile, and a 9.2 passer rating, 98th percentile as well. So Dejounte Murray, a great passer as well, averaged about 9.3 assists per game, had a 37.7 assist percentage as well. And defensively, the Spurs gave up 5.6 more points per 100 possessions when Dejounte Murray was off of the floor. So he really would be a defensive anchor at that point of attack, which is exactly what the Wizards need. Exactly what the Wizards need. Some quick numbers on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He got double teamed the 4th most in the NBA this year per game. He ranked 2nd in isolations per game. So it was just kind of give him the ball, get out the way. How would they fit next to Bradley Beal is the question mark. I think both would fit pretty well. I think the better fit would be Dejounte because he's more of a pass first point guard, more of a guy that can create for Bradley Beal and get him open shots. And Bradley Beal has played really well off ball. That's when he was at his best, next to John Wall, next to Russell Westbrook. But honestly, I just don't think these guys are really attainable. I think, you check in and I think they pick up the phone and say, hello, hi. These guys are great players, but we're not interested in trading at all. I think that's how the conversation went. Malcolm Brogdon, I do think there is a possible way they can get him. I did want to talk about some Jaden Ivey quotes as well, to be honest with you. I do want to talk about that with Sacramento. I know the percentage of getting him is very low. I'm not getting my hopes at all. Looks like the Kings may be playing hardball with that 4th pick. But if Jaden Ivey doesn't want to be there, maybe they could stay and just pick Keegan Murray. Or if they get a haul or a great player that they feel like they can get at that 4th pick, then I can see them being enticed. But to get back to the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Dejounte Murray, if I had to pick between the two, I'd probably go with Dejounte because of the defense and the playmaking ability. I think he would fit well next to Bradley Beal. The only thing that concerns me is the 3-point shot. But if you got either one, it would be a win-win. I just don't see either one happening at all. I don't see either one happening at all. And Shai Gilgeous, he's a good playmaker as well. He averaged 24 points per game. I'll pull up his contract. He just got a max deal as well. So when you the trade for Dejounte would be easier money wise. Shai Gilgeous, he's averaging 24 points a game, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. So he basically averaging 5, at least 5 boards and 5 assists, which is very tough to do as well. You look at his contract; he's getting $30 million this upcoming year, and then after that, once the max money is going to go up to 32. 2025 is going to go up to 35 million. 2026 is going to be 37 million, and 2027 going to be 40 million. And Shai is 30. He's 24 years old, so they're both young guards. So it's kind of like Bradley, Bill, and Tommy. They're working together to get a guard, but is it realistic? I just don't think so. If I'm the Thunder, I don't see why I would trade. I don't see why they would trade SGA. I don't see why they would trade Dejounte unless these guys are really disgruntled. So, but both guys would be great gets. They would be great gets. I do want to read some quick quotes from Jaden Ivey before we wrap up, and then tomorrow we'll probably talk about Malcolm Brogdon and what Shams Charania said. I will be having Delonte Daniels, who was my co-host not too long ago. He'll be on the show tomorrow, so we'll be talking about that and talking about Tommy Shepard quotes from his presser today. We'll be talking about that tomorrow, so we're going to talk about that in the draft. But before we do get to some intriguing quotes that I saw from Jaden Ivey here real quick, this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. Rock Auto, I use Rock Auto all the time. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning, like is your Odyssey an LX or an EX, and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer? Choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find their solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck right locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need from rockauto.com. All right, so I'm going to pull up the quotes here from Jaden Ivey. What he said, basically he said that he has not had any contact with the Sacramento Kings at all. He hasn't contacted them at all. I want to put up the quote here just to get it here correctly verbatim. So I don't want to paraphrase too much, but this is from Evan Sidiri. He's a national NBA reporter for Basketball News. He says, Jaden Ivey said he hasn't been in contact with the Kings at all during the pre-draft process. If I got drafted there, it wouldn't be the worst option. So that he said it wouldn't be the worst option, but obviously the quote just sounds like he doesn't want to be there. And for one, the Kings have not contacted him all. Don't you think you should at least contact him or have him for a workout? And I know teams don't always work. The Wizards are notorious for not working out guys they draft, but it just seems odd. It just seems a little off there. And then there's a quote that I found where they sat down and they've had extensive talks with Keegan Murray. The Kings are highly interested in Keegan Murray. I could definitely see Keegan Murray going to the Kings. It says, this is from Chris Haynes, who's a beat reporter as well. The Sacramento Kings, owners of the number 4 pick, are high on Keegan Murray and even arranged for the prospect to have dinner with team stars De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. I mean, they're sitting down and having dinner with Keegan Murray. And I do think the Kings really like him. I think he, position-wise, and the reason why I'm bringing up Jaden Ivey is because, of course, the Wizards do have significant interest in trading for Jaden Ivey. There's a 40% chance that Quinton Mayo said, and I feel like it's even lower than that. I feel like there's just a lot that you have to give up for a Jaden Ivey. So I just don't think it's I think if Tommy Shepard's willing to go all in and trade Kuz, Denny, pick 10, Kispert, and some other guys, maybe. But I just feel like they don't have the assets maybe that the Kings are looking for. But if they really want to go all in and go for Jaden Ivey, I'm 110% behind it. I really am. Keegan Murray, if the Kings pick him at pick 4 and then Jaden Ivey goes at pick 5, I think that's a huge mistake. I think Keegan Murray is a good player, but I think that's a huge mistake on talent-wise and just on guys that can create a shot for us. Keegan Murray is a good player, but he in college he was more of a post-up guy. He didn't have that first step to get by guys, but he was an elite college basketball player. He's going to be a solid two-way player. I just don't see all-star potential in Keegan Murray and the elite athleticism. I don't see a lot of elite skills in Keegan Murray at the moment. This is also a quote from Shams as well. The Kings are becoming increasingly comfortable drafting at pick 4 in Thursday's draft and have described a steep price for teams behind them in the lottery who are attempting to trade up, sources said. Sacramento general manager Monte McNair has engaged in conversations around Hawks forward John Collins, among a slew of other established productive players in the market, but there has been no involvement of the number 4 pick in the discussion centered on John Collins, and McNair will ultimately make the decision on the pick according to sources. So he says, but there has been no involvement of the number 4 pick in discussions centered on John Collins from the Atlanta Hawks. So I don't know if he wants, basically they haven't talked about the number 4 pick for John Collins. Does he want somebody even better than a John Collins for pick 4? Does he want John Collins in more picks for pick 4? And the Kings are becoming increasingly comfortable drafting at pick 4, staying at number 4. Are they really falling in love with Keegan Murray that much where they just want to keep the pick and not trade back? Because if they trade back to pick 10, then it's like, okay, you're going to get a good player, but you're not going to be able to draft one of the blue chip players and one of the top players that you could have gotten that pick 4, like a Jaden Ivey, or let's say Paolo drops to number 4, which I don't think would happen, but just say the possibility of that happening. So it sounds like they want to stay at pick 4, but there's a lot of smoke screens. There's a lot of misdirection that goes on during the draft as well. So tomorrow we're going to talk about Malcolm Brogdon a little bit with Dejounte. We're going to talk about Tommy Shepard quotes as well tomorrow leading up to the draft. We're going to touch on that. Sato, the point guard position, a lot of stuff and rumors that have come out there for sure. We're definitely going to touch on that. Some guys that we like on the draft for sure. Dejounte Murray, I don't think that's going to happen. And I do want to talk about Kyrie a little bit. And it looks like they're at a stalemate. Him and the Nets are at a stalemate right now, which is very intriguing to me. I talked about Kyrie before. I know Kyrie is definitely a polarizing player and, has missed a lot of games, but I'll read the quote from Shams as well. Kyrie and the Nets are at an impasse that clears the way for him to test the open market. So that is intriguing. I talked about Kyrie a few weeks ago. Could he be a possible target for the Wizards? Of course, you're going to have to do a sign and trade to bring him here, but that does raise the talent level. Him and Bradley Beal would be a lethal defensively. They would leave a lot to be desired, but offensively, they could definitely be a high octane, potent offense for sure. They would be able to compete, I feel like, in the Eastern Conference. So that's what we're going to get to tomorrow. Make sure you guys stay tuned in for that. And then I do have Chase Hughes also coming in on Thursday right before the draft. So those are the lineup guests that I have for the draft. And then I will be going live for the draft. After the draft, I'll be going live. So stay tuned for that. Well, that will be later in the night, probably around 1 a.m. So if you guys are still up the night of the draft, I will be going live with you guys just to go back and forth and talk. So like I said before earlier, I just believe there's a 0% chance that we get SGA or Dejounte, but those guys definitely would move the needle for the Washington Wizards. I just want to thank you guys for listening to Locked On Wizards, making it your first listen of the day. And the first picks of the Ultimate NBA Mock Draft have been made. Search now for Ultimate NBA Mock Draft and get over 50 insiders, the Odyssey sports experts, the draft experts of Locked On NBA Big Board. The 5-episode Ultimate NBA Mock Draft is underway. Make Ultimate NBA Mock Draft your second listen today. Just want to thank you guys for listening. Make sure you guys hit the notification bell. Hail to the Wizards.